What's the creepiest thing you've seen at a sleepover? First time staying at a friend's house when I was about 10 or so. I moved around a lot as a kid, so we were new friends and I didn't know her that well. Her stepdad came in to say goodnight, and gave her a big long hug. She went really quiet and then told me she was glad I was staying over. A few weeks later, she didn't come to school on Monday. Tuesday night on the news, they reported a man had been arrested for molestation and rape of a minor, and named the fairly short street she lived on. She didn't come back to school. We moved again a few months later and I never saw her again. I still remember the look on her face after he hugged her. As a child, I didn't understand, but as an adult looking back, it makes me stabby. In 6th grade I camped at my friend's house with him and one other friend. They lived in the country so they had plenty of acreage although we were only 200 feet or so from his house. At about 2 a.m. we heard people shouting, "Go! Get them!" Now, naturally we freaked out and left the tent running. Come to find out their neighbor's house was getting raided for drugs. When I was in 6th grade a girl had a slumber party for her birthday. There was maybe 5 or 6 of us girls at her house. Their house was kind of run down and the parents didn't give a rat's ass what we did and they constantly swore. Just was an interesting environment. She had 2 younger brothers, 3rd grade maybe, who also had some friends who were girls, same age, over for the night. I walked downstairs and they had one of the boys' penises out and the girls were playing with it. I was so shocked because of course I am only in 6th grade and haven't been exposed to stuff like this before. I went and told the birthday girl who just laughed it off. Super weird. Friend with a sleep disorder went to the kitchen to cook in the middle of the night. He was sleepwalking/talking. It's fascinating and creepy to witness. Also all his knives need to be locked in a drawer every night for that same reason. My brother has developed a sleep cooking habit in the last few years. 2 years ago we were staying at my dad's house during the holidays. Him and my brother were laughing about his sleep antics. Of note, my brother is a chef. So he's not microwaving nachos in his sleep, he's attempting to make a whole-ass meal. Anyway, my husband and I were sleeping in the basement directly below the kitchen. We had just gotten done fooling around when we heard footsteps. Obviously we panicked because we're in my parents' home, so we laid there dead silent for a few minutes. When we realized the footsteps we were hearing were walking back and forth between the fridge/oven and the counter we immediately started laughing. That night my brother tried to make lasagna. Spoiler alert, he made noodles and ketchup and took it back to bed with him. He woke up in a noodly ketchupy mess. Spent the night for the first time at a friend's house with another friends. Both were great guys, but later in the night, after we smoked weed, we went out in his den to watch TV. I'm on the armchair, both of them on the love seat. They toss me a blanket, and grab one themselves. He turns on porn and they both proceed to beat their meat under the same blanket, and, since it was my first time getting high I just stared, flabbergasted at what was happening. So I told them I had to go do it in the bathroom for privacy, but I just sat on the toilet for like an hour and went back outside when I heard the TV change to something else. Not really creepy, but their just complete and total assumption I would partake with them felt really strange to me. When I was about 11 or 12, I got invited over with maybe 5 other girls for a sleepover. Everything was normal until the middle of the night. We're all sitting in her bedroom with the door closed when somebody starts fucking pounding on the door. I mean I thought it was going to break off its hinges. We're dead quiet for a minute, and then some dude starts screaming, "Let me in. I want to see your pajamas." Friend says she knows who it is, opens the door and tells him to fuck off. Turns out it was her, single, mom's friend. Fuck buddy. He had come over at some point, they got drunk, and he decided it would be fun to scare the shit out of us since we didn't know he was there. The pajamas comment was still creepy though. A mattress in a closet that smelled like pee. These people were military, tidy as hell, with 6 kids, and this was a hall closet between the kids' rooms. I opened it looking for a blanket that wasn't that rough sandpaper blanket with the satin trim, you all know the one, and there was this single kid's mattress on the floor, smelling like super old, musty pee with no sheets or blankets or pillows. I shut the door and said nothing about it. I was 7. My friend invited me and 3 other friends to spend the night at her house since her parents were gone. The room we slept in had a bunk bed and a normal bed since it was supposed to be divided later for her siblings. We also got a mattress for the floor since there were 4 of us. I'm a light sleeper and in the middle of the night I'm awakened by this fucking creepy laughing coming from the room. It sounded too fucking real. It wouldn't stop. I get up from the bed and realize that the person laughing is the one sleeping on the mattress. I was so fucking creeped out and at first I thought she's joking. Then I go to her, start shaking her arm and say what the fuck is wrong with you. Then she stops and goes back to her peaceful sleeping. I go back to my bed and after 10 minutes I hear her say friend's name smell makes my veins pop followed by another creepy laugh. At this point, I've fucking had it. I went up to her again, this time fully waking her up and tell her that she's being really fucking creepy and that I don't know what's she dreaming about but it's fucking scary. To this she replies I wasn't even sleeping. I couldn't fall asleep because of that loud noise and snoring now. I know she's joking because there was no noise or snoring in the room except for her giggles. So I'm like okay. I go back to bed hoping she'll stop. Eventually I fell asleep and the next morning I ask her what the hell was that about. Apparently she has a habit of talking in her sleep. Edit. Definitely did not see the nsfw warning in the thread when I posted this. This is a very SFW story. Sorry to disappoint. I mean, this isn't ghost creepy, just really what were you thinking? The story of Cheese Dick. We were all around 17, at my dude's b-day party. Everybody is drinking and smoking, having a good time, when we notice this kid Brandon went missing. We thought maybe he had passed out somewhere. Checked the whole house and yard, nothing. A few of us grab flashlights and go into the woods, and after a few minutes, we find him, pantsless against a tree, jacking off and using a can of Easy Cheese for lube. I still don't know if it was just a weird drunk impulse he had, or if this was a normal thing for him, but he was known as Cheese Dick for years. When I was 12 or 13 I had a sleepover at a friend's house. About 2 a.m., her drunk dad came sneaking downstairs and tried to fondle me. I ran home crying, but was too afraid to tell my dad. Roughly 20 years later, my friend killed herself possibly because of the horrible shit her dad had done to her, and her brother. The dad had already died by then, and never faced justice. Her alcoholic mother died soon after my friend. Her brother disappeared years ago, probably is dead too, he was involved heavy in hard drugs. I was staying over at a friend's house with others around junior year of high school. We were upstairs in his room, just eating pizza and playing games, when the friend hosting us starts staring out the window. He mutes the TV and gets the room quiet and we hear someone wailing. It didn't sound like anyone in pain or fear, just someone screaming to screaming. Keep in mind this at 1 in the morning and on a dead-end street with only one functioning street light post. We're all looking out the window at this point and hear the wailing getting closer to the entrance of the street. With the minuscule amount of light there is, we all saw a silhouette, a super tall guy sprinting like a deer across the sidewalk. The wailing faded the farther the guy ran away. We ended up staying up until 6 a.m. because we were too spooked to sleep. I had my girlfriend over to my place for a night a few years back. She decided to go to the bathroom at 2 in the morning, which woke me up slightly. Now I do not know why, but for whatever reason she decided to furiously knock on the bedroom door yelling for me to open it back up, so I rush up and turn the lights on. Turns out she was sleepwalking, but I have never been more afraid of where I lived ever. I was at a sleepover with around 8 girls my age when I was around 10. At this point it's already morning and only one of us isn't awake yet. She starts sleepwalking, arms out in front of her, slowly ambling around like a stereotypical zombie, calling out the name of the girl who was hosting us, but slowly and slightly slurred. If you've played the RPG Mad Father, imagine the Aya chase scene. That but quieter. Everybody except for me was really freaked out. I was having the time of my life watching. They would try to get away from her, but she would follow us around the room. She would stop following you if you got separated and weren't the specific girl she was calling out for. At one point she went over to the armchair, curled up on it for a while, then got back up, took one of the pillows on it and sleepwalked over to the couch where we were huddling up. Everybody scatters, she sits down for a bit. Gets back up, grabs the wrong pillow and goes back over to the armchair. Puts the pillow down, then suddenly stops, picks the pillow back up, goes and exchanges it with the correct pillow, and brings it back to the armchair. Absolutely fascinating. Went on for like 2 hours. When she eventually woke up, we asked what the fuck she had dreamt. Turns out she dreamt the girl was kidnapped and she was trying to save her this entire time. That's why she kept calling out for her and following people around. It was so cool. Edit, I realize this is a serious thread, and it was serious for the others. They were legit so scared and jumpy for the rest of the morning. I see, objectively, how it was scary, but I at that point was already acquainted with other sleepwalkers, and also it was so interesting to see not only how she could arrange the pillows correctly in her sleep and also how her dream explained her actions while she was sleepwalking. In 5th grade, this was the 80s, I spent the night at my friend Janine's house. We found a VHS tape from her stepdad's collection, and watched an entire porn movie called Sexcapades. We were horrified and fascinated. The next morning, her mom asked if we stayed up watching a movie. Janine told her we'd watched The Last Starfighter. It was my birthday sleepover. Everything was going semi-normal till about 11. My mother and baby sister were trying to sleep while my friend chases us around the house threatening to kill us. Obviously we are very creeped out. My mom and baby sister somehow sleep through this. She says it's a game, calm down OMG, multiple times. She's literally holding a knife from when we cut the cake at this point, and my other non-psycho friend and I are hiding in the downstairs closet. Thankfully some sort of switch flipped in her brain and she says, "Come on guys, game's over, let's go sleep." This was one of the only times I have ever been threatened with a knife. We honestly thought she'd kill us that night. Once I slept over at my friend's house. Let's just call him John. His parents were divorced at the time and still are. This will be important later. We stayed up all of the first day that I got there and the second, but slept like half of the third and last day that I was there from how tired we both were. We were generally just enjoying our sleepover, playing video games, eating junk food, joking around, just normal sleepover stuff. When on the second day that I was there, weekend BTW, John's mom started freaking out and acting really weird and paranoid. Keep in mind that John's older sister and brother were also in the house. So anyways, John's mom is still acting really weird and we ask her what's wrong and she just tells us to go back into our rooms and to not come out. This is where we start to feel worried also, not only for us but for his mom. So we go back to just playing video games to get our mind off of things. Not 10 minutes pass by, when we hear footsteps and leaves crunching outside our window and we start to freak out and turn off the lights in the room as to not be seen by whoever was outside. We hear knocking on the window and we see a guy who's at least 6 feet tall just staring through our window. Keep in mind that we had turned off the lights and it was pitch black, so there was no way he saw us. We run out of the room to tell John's mom about this and she is nowhere to be found. Turns out the guy that was looking through our window was John's mom's ex-husband, who she had divorced from not long ago. He had been stalking her and was reportedly planning on killing her that night. I guess she had a gut feeling or something, because left to one of her friends' houses and left John's older brother in charge of us without telling either me or John, so we were pretty confused. Definitely not the scariest thing that has happened, but definitely creepy, since now I know that he was planning on killing her that night. I still talked to John every now and then and even slept over a lot even after what happened. Also, the ex-husband apparently broke a window which we did not hear and broke the lock to the back door. TLDR, I slept over at a friend's house and his mom's ex-husband was planning to kill her that night. P.S. Things were a little weird the last night I was there, as I was there 3 nights and this whole situation occurred on the second night. Also, if there are some things that need further explanation, please feel free to ask. I was in the 6th grade and had a sleepover at my buddy's house. I got up to use the bathroom and I saw my buddy's dad leave the bathroom and walk down the hall with his balls hanging out of his briefs. His big old balls swinging back and forth. I still go back to that day in the 80s every time I see a pair of truck nuts on pickup. My stepsister's birthday party when we were like 11 or 12 probably. We made a fake Ouija board out of a piece of paper and a deodorant cap. The spirit said it was my grandpa, who had died when I was 2. My mom and stepdad didn't get married until I was 6, so my stepsister and her friends definitely didn't know anything about my grandpa. I didn't know that much either. I asked what his middle initial was and it said K. I went upstairs and asked my mom what Papa's middle name was and she said Kenny. It was probably just a coincidence, but it scared the hell out of 12-year-old me. My brother used to have a friend that slept over quite a bit when we were in our preteens. One night I woke up in the middle of the night and saw a dark figure in the corner of my bedroom. I was creeped out and then I realized it was my brother's friend standing in my room, naked, watching me sleep.